Roxy Music has slowly become one of my favorite bands, but it didn't start out that way. In fact, the first time I saw the cover for Country Life, I was certainly taken aback. Featuring two scantily clad models, Constance Caroli and Evelyn Grunwald, Brian Ferry met them in Portugal and persuaded them to be on the cover of this album. I'm not a huge prude, but when I looked at this, I said to myself, really? Well, what is this? And it turns out I wasn't alone. The US didn't particularly like it either. Upon its release, they censored it. First by giving it an opaque shrink wrap, and later by removing the women altogether. Other countries like Australia even banned the record, or wrapped it in a black plastic sleeve. And this cover might have been the raciest release by Roxy Music, but it wasn't the only one to feature a woman in a pinup pose. In fact, most Roxy Music covers make it a point to have at least one on the cover, and none of these women are in the band. But why? What was the reason behind this? It all comes back to one thing: taking yourself less seriously. If you were walking down aisles in a record store in the early 70s, what would you see? Landscapes, exploding zeppelins, zoomed in photos of ears, runic symbols. Rock was taking itself too seriously. Brian Ferry was creating intellectual music, but if he slapped on an intellectual cover to match, the LP would just blend in the background at the record store, becoming part of the same boring landscape. So Ferry did the exact opposite and decided to spice it up. He got his inspiration from 40s and 50s Hollywood with pinup girls, injecting glitz and glamour into his covers. Now, in doing this, Ferry was obviously making a large gamble. If the music wasn't as well produced or as well written as it was, the album cover wouldn't sell it well. But because the music was good, and its cover stood out among its serious contemporaries that it sat beside, it worked. And as gaudy and as male gaze as they look now, these covers were meant to shock and stop people in their tracks. And to a degree, they even still do. And let me go even a little deeper here, because believe it or not, the music does echo this album cover choice. It doesn't juxtapose it. Roxy Music takes the inspiration from 60s psychedelia with 30s and 40s crooners and old movie soundtracks, but also includes the forward-thinking synths and the sounds of the future. In this way, Roxy Music blends it all into something completely their own. This is where the marriage between the album cover and the music is made. Ferry looked back in time to the pinup girls, but then also chose to stand out in a sea of serious album covers by choosing something completely different from what was being shown. What's old becomes new again, and Ferry made nostalgia modern, and thus Roxy Music, in both the cover and on the grooves, postmodern. If you haven't checked out Country Life, do yourself a favor and give it a shot. I find the track The Thrill of It All and Prairie Rose to be album highlights, but note that the whole album is fantastic. If you feel like you have to explain why you have some softcore porno lying around to a friend, roommate, or dinner guest, just play them this album. I'm sure that'll clear things up. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I can't keep doing this without your help and support. I hope that helps. I love you all.